when you're chasing the right goals or just chasing what looks impressive from the outside. I'm Sarah, and this is Creatives Processing, where creatives reveal their process and process what it means to create. In this highlights episode, I'm diving into 5 key insights from my conversation with Craig and Jess Winslow, the married couple behind Winslow Studio. What I love about their story is how intentional they've been about building both a successful creative business and a healthy partnership, something that's incredibly difficult to do well. I've selected moments that I keep coming back to in my own work and relationships. We'll explore how they set boundaries as both business and romantic partners, their approach to balancing yes and thinking with no but reality checks, and Jess's honest reflection on how social media metrics can distort our relationship with our own creative work. We'll also dig into Craig's hard-learned lesson about setting achievable goals versus impossible standards, and Jess's beautiful reminder about being present in our journeys instead of constantly chasing the next achievement. Between each highlight, I'll share how these insights connect to my own approach to creative work and leadership. Because here's what I believe. The best creative work happens when we're honest about the human side of what we do, the messy, complex, beautiful reality of building something meaningful. So let's start with something that every creative partnership needs to survive: clear, intentional boundaries.
It is important to set those boundaries and to set guidelines for what is your personal relationship and what is your work relationship. I think for us it really started to work well where Jess is such a great sounding board for the ideas or the concepts that come in. I'll have a bunch of these ideas and be able to kind of run it by her and get to the answer quicker than me fully vetting out 10 different ideas. I can just be like, oh, it's just these 3 that I should focus on, and trust in her taste, basically, that those are the ways to move forward.
I think Craig and I bring that to the table for sure. We have everything written down. We are very organized. Everything that we do when it comes to a project, we're approaching it in a very similar manner. So there isn't ever a moment where if I'm doing all of our pre-production, he tries to tell me how to do that because he's just grateful that it's off of his plate.
Yeah.
And we have a really, really, really similar approach to how we do pre-production. I think it took us a while to get there, definitely not going to say that we right out the gate are the most amazing collaborative partners. Right. It took a minute.
Yeah.
Our relationship was forged in the trauma of a global pandemic. You know what I mean? That was fraught with a lot of anxiety, but I think we learned how to navigate stressful situations through communication because it was forged in that universe. So managing a massive project is easy peasy.
What strikes me most about Craig and Jess's approach is how intentional they are. Having a dedicated office space, scheduling actual date nights with no work talk. These aren't just nice ideas, they're systems that protect both their creativity and their relationship. In my own work, I've learned that boundaries aren't restrictions. They're actually what allows creativity to flourish. When my clients know exactly what to expect from our process in working together, it creates trust and space for the real creative magic to happen. The beautiful thing about what Craig and Jess have built is that their boundaries actually strengthen their work. Jess can say, I'm not feeling heard right now. Can we reset? Because they've created a foundation of trust and clear communication. Here's what I want you to think about. Where in your creative work are you lacking boundaries? Maybe it's with clients who text you at all hours, or projects that bleed into every corner of your life, or even your own internal pressure to be on all the time. As creative professionals, our work is so personal that protecting our humanity isn't just self-care, it's legit business strategy. Next, an improv principle and an anti-improv principle that work in harmony.
I think the first thing on the McMinnville mood board, as far as a brief to us, was, hey, we saw the Van Gogh immersive experience. Let's do that in our vineyard, right? So we get, hey, we want a Van Gogh immersive experience. And I'm like, no, but here's maybe a side idea. Here's an augmented mural. Here's a, like, we ended up doing this.
My favorite though, Craig, you don't just say no. You say, I could do that, but it will cost you $500,000. And then they're like, okay, yeah, we can't do that. I'm like, great. So what's your budget?
You want to rent a warehouse? Like,
I want to call out here. You said the phrase "no, but," which is so funny because like I think a lot, in collaboration, a lot of it is like the improv principle of yes,
yes,
and.
yes, yeah. But hearing like no, but that's so. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot like when you're managing clients, a lot of it is like no, but there's still positivity there because you're like, this is what we can do, but it's not just like yes, and let's do it.
To be fair, Craig is yes, and.
Yeah, I struggle a lot with that for sure.
And I think, no, but.
Yeah, but it's a good balance to have. It really is like, it keeps us kind of like grounded, or at least keeps us aligned with like, is this fulfilling the vision or like the thing we set out to do? Or are we kind of like spiraling a little bit? Especially with like clients that, with the Van Gogh coming in as like this mood board, we were able to say, we hear where you're coming from or what you're looking for. Like maybe not literally that, but the feeling of like awe or like, oh, this brightness or this like color that maybe you wouldn't see at a typical like tasting room where there's just regular lighting and there's maybe art on the wall and like barrels and stuff. So how can we kind of just push them along in that way?
This dynamic between Craig's yes approach and Jess's no perspective perfectly illustrates the tension between possibility and practicality that I see all the time in creative work. What I love about how they handle this, though, is that they don't see it as opposition. Jess's no, but isn't shutting down clients. It's helping channel ideas in a direction that serves both their artistic vision and their client's business reality. This is where our role as creative directors becomes essential. We're translators and guides. When a client says they want a Van Gogh immersive experience, our job isn't to deliver a carbon copy. It's to understand what they're really after. What is it about that experience that captivated them? Is it the feeling of being surrounded by beauty, the sense of wonder, the Instagram worthy moment? Once we identify that core feeling, we can create something unique that aligns with their actual budget and goals. We're not just executing requests mindlessly, we're helping clients understand what they really need and showing them a path to get there that's authentic to their brand and achievable within their reality. Next up, Jess talks about fake internet points and reframing the value of her own creative work.
I'm not just taking photographs to get fake internet points. I think for a minute there, that was definitely the driving factor for my, the sharing, but I think I got too used to the dopamine hit. And I am now in like a point of being like, okay, what is my work? And I think I had to do the interpersonal work to figure out what I want my photography like to say about me and like where I want to share that. I think the fake internet point thing really messed with me and my approach because I never had that approach before, and I've been a lifelong photographer. Well, I rewired my brain for sure through that channel of sharing my work, and I need to undo that. So I've been doing that for the last few years. I am like slowly trying to figure out what taking photos means to me now and what that might look like now.
Jess's honesty about how social media metrics affected her relationship with photography, a lifelong passion, speaks to something so many creative professionals are grappling with right now. The thing about chasing social media algorithms is that it's a losing game. The platforms change constantly. What performs well has nothing to do with quality, and you end up creating for an algorithm instead of for humans. It's the difference between authentic creativity, work that comes from genuine expression and connection, and performative creativity, where you're constantly asking, will this get engagement? Instead of, does this serve my vision? I've watched incredibly talented creatives completely lose their artistic voice trying to crack the code of what performs well online. You start second guessing your instincts, changing your aesthetic to chase trends, and ultimately creating work that feels hollow because you're designing it for likes rather than meaning. Here's what I want you to consider. How are you measuring the value of your creative work? Are you using metrics that actually align with your goals? Or are you chasing numbers that don't reflect what you're trying to build? Next, how being present is the greatest achievement of all.
We're such like
Love
checkbox people, I think, too. Sometimes we like forget to just be present, like in it. Like we're in it. This
yeah.
like these are the like moments of our lives that we look back on, you know? And
Yeah.
so I think there's a little bit of that, like reminding ourselves to stay grounded and like, yes, stay forward focused because, you know, all of this work is important to us and drives us and
Yeah.
also pays for our lives because
Yeah.
capitalism is still there creeping in the background. But how do we like how do we stop and recognize the work that we're doing? I think that's part of why I made us start incorporating the like dinner at the end of a project. It's like you actually have to
Yeah.
appreciate the win. We should probably start doing that with our house projects too. It's like there's always checklists, there's always things, there's always something to do and something to fix or something to work on. And it's like, okay, but how do we like slow down and appreciate it in this moment too?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, yeah, you
Yeah.
think you have all these career highs, and like you might
Yeah.
have another career high. And also, who cares? What does a career high mean? Like, am I going to be 80 being like, oh my God, I'm so sad I only had 2 career highs? Like, no, just make memories. Just like live your life and have
Yeah.
experiences and like work because you like have to, I guess. But like, if you love it, God, what a blessing.
This moment where Jess talks about being checkbox people and learning to be present really hits me because as a native New Yorker, it was my business to get from point A to point B as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that mentality absolutely bled over to my creative work. I've been obsessed with process for so long. And while part of that is genuine curiosity about how different brains think and my own ADHD, a big part was searching for cheat codes to get work done faster, to be more productive. And that's inherently a product of capitalism. This idea that faster and more efficient is always better because it means money is the sole metric. It's always going to be a struggle to unlearn those patterns, but I'm learning to savor the journey rather than just rush towards the end product. That's actually the beauty of creative work. The full journey of creating something valuable. The research phase, the messy middle where nothing makes sense, and then the moment when it just all clicks together. Jess's insight about celebrating wins, literally budgeting for a nice dinner after every big project, that's not just good self care, that's recognizing that the process itself has value. Here's my challenge for you. What would change about your creative practice if you focused more on being present in the process instead of rushing towards outcomes? How might that actually improve the quality of your work? Last up, setting achievable goals.
Like when I started the Adobe residency, especially, I felt like I've made it. Like this is the thing that I'm like set. In many ways, it really was like the jet fuel that I continue to like have like a immense amount of thanks that they like really embraced light capsules as a project. And even starting that, I thought like I started numbering those 001, assuming that would hit like 100 plus immediately. And my ambitions for that project were so much higher, and I ended up doing I think like 13 of them throughout the residency, and I like spoke at South by Southwest and creative jams and like did so much more. But I think for my own sake, I set the bar a little too high with those and came out of it feeling like, well, it's like I'm proud of what I did, but like maybe for the next one, if I'm not as ambitious, it's ambitious is even like the right word. It's like setting the expectation to, you know, a number that is, is achievable, so you can blow past it and like offer yourself some of that surprise is like what I need to kind of shift to, because I think I do tend to like set a higher expectation.
Craig's reflection on his Adobe residency really strikes me because it's such an honest look at how unrealistic expectations can undermine even our biggest successes. He started numbering those projects with 001, expecting to hit 100, and he ended up doing 13 incredible pieces, spoke at major conferences, but because he had set his internal bar so impossibly high, he felt like he had somehow fallen short despite everything he achieved. What Craig learned, Setting expectations you can blow past and surprise yourself, that's not about lowering standards. It's about creating sustainable momentum. When you consistently exceed your goals, you build confidence. When you consistently fall short of unrealistic goals, you build self-doubt. Here's what I want you to think about. Are your goals energizing you or exhausting you? Are they pulling you forward or making you feel like you're constantly falling behind? The most successful creative professionals I know, and honestly, the happiest, aren't the ones with the most ambitious goals. They're the ones who are really good at setting goals that stretch them without breaking them. These 5 insights from Craig and Jess really capture something essential about creative work. That it's not just about the output, it's about how we show up as humans in the process. What I keep coming back to is how intentional they are about protecting both their creativity and their relationship. And that's not an accident. It's the result of really thoughtful choices about boundaries, goals, communication, and what success actually means to them. As creative professionals, we often act like our humanity is separate from our work. But Craig and Jess prove that integrating them fully is actually what creates the most powerful results. If any of these insights resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. You can find me at wordofmouthcreative.co, my studio where I partner with mission-driven organizations on branding, design, and more, always through this lens of humanizing the creative process. You can also connect with this show on Instagram at Creatives Processing, or by emailing us at creativesprocessing@wordofmouthcreative.co. If you want to hear the full conversation with Craig and Jess, which includes so much more about their technical process, client stories, and the reality of building a creative business, that episode is available now. You can peruse Winslow Studio's work at winslow.studio, and you can also connect with them on Instagram at Hello Winslow Studio. Till next time, stay human, stay curious. Thanks for listening.